Hello, welcome. My name is Igor de Souza, and today we are going to talk about the Raspberry Pi and Jakarta EE and the Raspberry Pi world, right? So, uh, uh, my name is Igor de Souza. You can find me on all social networks, IG, FL Souza. You can find me everywhere. If you follow me or if you know me, you already know that I always talk about Kafka or Raspberry Pi, and sometimes I combine both of those. So today I will try to explain basically of Raspberry Pi, what you can do with Jakarta. Can you run things on the top? David was talking about glass feed. Can we run glass feeds on the top of Raspberry Pi? I'm going to answer this question soon. So for starters, right? What is a Raspberry Pi? Raspberry Pi is a small computer, a credit card size. It started in 2012, almost 11 years ago. And since then, they created several versions. The most updated version was 3 to 5 months ago. Is Raspberry Pi 5. You have 8 gigs of memory. The Raspberry Pi is based on the Linux environment. So you put the Linux on the SD card. Because it's Linux, we have Java. You can install any flavor of Java. You already can start playing with the beta version of Java 22 or play with Java 21. Raspberry Pi is really small. So it's a really nice kind of a sandbox place that you can use it, install things and use it. The variations of prices, right? You have from a Raspberry Pi 0 that costs around $5, and then you can go up to the Raspberry Pi 5, 8 gigs that costs around $75. So again, really cheap things that you can buy. You can run Java. There is any other flavors of OS, right? People release the Android OS or even Windows, but sure, you can put Java on the top of those. And then that's the picture of the Raspberry Pi 4, actually. And one of the nice things here is this little pins here. That's what we call GPIO. And then GPIO is general port, input, output. And you can use those pins to control hardwares, some sensors, whatever, right? Blink a LED. We always joke, always do the joke that the hello world of the hardware is blinking a LED, right? You can blink a LED, you can control a LED stripe, do things, right? And then you can play with sensors and do some crazy things around. And of course, on the Raspberry Pi, we have something that they call a hat. So hat is kind of another board that's plug and play on the Raspberry Pi itself. So then you don't need to care about soldering and things like that. And in this example here is a sensor hat that has some kind of sensors, but it has a LED matrix 8x8, and it's that one that I'm going to use to show some examples here. And once you talk about Java, right, you want to control the GPIOs. And the way to control the GPIOs is using the Pi4j. Pi4j is a project, it's open source, you can find on GitHub. And then what the Pi4j do is kind of translate and give you an API that you can use it for control the GPIO pins, right? So then you can have a description of which GPIO do what, you can turn on, turn off, use this for control sensors and LEDs. Of course, you have the power, you have grounds, and you have those kind of things. And the way that works, right, the magic is like you have the JVM, then your application runs on the top of JVM, and then uses the Pi4j library, and that library calls or communicates with the native libraries. It's a library that's used the GPIO that comes with the OS and is based on C. And then that library communicates with the hardware. Then you can control the GPIO, you can do the magic, you can play around, right? And now that you already know what is a Raspberry Pi, you already know the hardware stuff that you can control the GPIOs, what you can do, what I can run on the top, right? Can I run a Glassfish application? And the answer is yes, right? Depends on the Raspberry Pi. As I said, you have the version 0 that is more weak in that sense. You have the version 5 that has more memory, more power processing. So yes, you can run Glassfish on the Raspberry Pi. You can run OpenLibers, you can run Payara, you can run WindFly, and so on and so on. Tomcat E, and of course you can go Spring, Micronaut, Helidon, Quarkus, whatever, you name it. And then now you have Java on the Raspberry Pi, you can run a web server, right? So you can create applications, you can call REST interface, you can play, you can turn on the LED by the REST interface, but of course you can play with the GUI as well. So let's create kind of, so before I show the GUI, right? So to run those servers, right? To run those servers here is kind of, nowadays, it's really simple. You have the Maven plugin. This example is the WindFly, but if you get the Tomcat, if you get the Glassfish, it's kind of similar. And then on the bottom here, you can see you do the WindFly run, and then it's going to start the server with the WAR file then. And then if you MVM clean patch as normal, if you change this for the Tomcat, it's just Tomcat run, and you get it, right? And each one has kind of a different syntax here, but the idea is that it's deploy and start for you. On the Raspberry Pi, of course, you can connect with the Raspberry Pi, you can SSH, then you just generate the deploy that generates the WAR file, you copy on the web applications folder, you start the to install those frameworks on the Raspberry Pi nowadays, best idea, download the zip or the tar file, unzip it on tar, and there you go. /bin, you have everything there, you can install, create something, you can create something in your machine, copy the WAR file, play, do great things, right? And then if you want to play the interface, right, you can create fancy GUIs, fancy screens, controls, everything. We have the JFS, Java Server Faces. Then you can play with the GUI, do crazy things on the top. And of course, use this for create your control your application, but of course, control the GPIO with Py4j as well. So for who knows JFS or used to work with Java for a long time, knows how more or less how to create a screen. You have the XML file, right? Create some tags, you have some kind of definitions, you can do forms. In this example, really simple one, right? I have a form and a panel with input and a, but here you can have more crazy things. You can have a for each, for example, you can iterate over a list and you can print and create the dynamic page. You can have some kind of idea that you add a list. You can add elements on the list or remove elements to the list, change the elements of the list. And with that, you can create really nice things that I'm going to show here in this presentation. And then in the last version, the Jakarta 4, right? They created this idea that if you don't want to go on the XML idea, you can somehow create the code. And then they have components that you create on the code. And then this is translated in a page on fly. So then you have the page, but you don't create the XML. And then again, here is a base example. You have form, you have buttons, input, output. You can create like in a nice way, in an easy way, maybe easy to read and less files and things like that. And then one of the things that you can create, that right, this is an example. So here I have kind of a GUI. And the GUI itself is kind of simple. When I press turn on, turn off, this is just the JFS, just the GUI, right? Of course, you can use any server-side render, or you can any views, time limits, and things like that. But this is JFS, right? And then here is just the GUI, but of course, you can combine the idea with display itself. So whatever happens on the screen is going to happen on display. So here I have the sense hat, exactly the same one that I showed in the beginning. And then here is kind of, I have my 8x8 matrix here, and whatever I do here reflects on the real Raspberry Pi. So in that sense, I'm using the GUI for control the Raspberry Pi. And then I have another example. So this one is kind of using a different hat. That doesn't matter here. But the idea is that I have 4 letters here. I can type something. In that case, I type 4/8. And then whatever I type is going to be presented here. So it's just showing that, yes, you can run web servers on the browser, on the Raspberry Pi. Yes, you can have a web application. Yes, you can do nice things on the top, right? The last one, it's kind of, I have a table, and this table is 60, a lot of squares. And each square, I can press and turn in white or leave it blue. And then I have a fancy JavaScript that I can kind of drag and drop on the top of the table. And then I kind of assign my name. I have a preview. And when I press, I print this on ILCD. So it's kind of a fancy idea that you can do. And then that's what I want to talk about, right? So I found this example 3-4 years ago on the internet. And then the idea here, it doesn't matter which hardware is here. It could be anything, right? The idea here is that I have a hardware with LEDs. And then if you put it in that position, the lights of the LEDs project on the magnifying LEDs from Lego and creates kind of a projection on that side. So here you can see that it becomes a projection on the Legos, the toy face, right? So then I got the idea, I create myself. Actually, the most difficult part here is find a Lego magnifying glass to buy. But if you manage to find one, you can do it, right? And because I join lots of coder dojo and I bring ideas for kids or teenagers who start in the area, right? I bring to them and they create really, really nice face ideas. And then people came with it, yeah, why not? We do a draw in a cardboard, and then they can do kind of Halloween stuff. Someone said, no, this is a little bit scary. So yeah, let's do it for Halloween. And you can do different faces. And here I kind of mimic faces, right? But you can project whatever you want. And then the idea is fancy, it's easy. I can have a web application, a web server run on top of the Raspberry Pi on Java. And I can do projections using my sensor hat and it can do nice things. So then I said, well, wait a second. If I can do a projection, can I do animation? So what I need to do animation? And can I create kind of a GUI that I create the animation frame by frame or step by step? So I end up creating something like that. So here is kind of a really silly or simple page, right? And then the page has a table 8x8, that is the LED from my sensor hat. And then once I press plus, I create a second element. And if I create plus and add, and each element I have the minus that I can remove. So it's basically I have my main or my Java bean or whatever, right? Page bean, whatever you want to call. And I have my frame object. So my main method just have a list of frame, and each frame I can have an array of bytes, or I can have an array of bits, or I can have a matrix, right? The idea that I control here which position should be on and off. And then I can use this for build the animation. So for example, it's going to show this one, then it's going to show this one, then it's going to show this one. And my example here is pixels, few seconds on each. But after I show this demo in the dojos, and one of the students there came with the idea that we can add an input for each one, a kind of input text, whatever, right? With a duration, and then I can put different values. So for example, I can say 5 for this, 2 for this, and 3 for this. So then my animation is going to show this frame for 5 seconds, this one for 2, this one for 3, things like that, right? And then the results is something like that, right? Here I have the kind of a result. And when I press and when I play the video, right, now is animation. So I animate the face of the so I can do really, really nice things with that. And then, of course, now I show how you can play with Java on the Raspberry Pi. I show how you can put a server. You can run a Glassdoor, you can run Windfly, you can run all the others. You can have GUIs and play around. As I said, of course, you can use different tools. You can use any other view or server-centric rendering. You can play with Spring, Micronaut, and those kind of things. And so what else you can do, right? Because the price of the Raspberry Pi is not expensive. As I said, you have a Raspberry Pi for $5 to $75. You can have more than one. And if you have more than one, you can have a cluster. So I can have a cluster with Raspberry Pi. So here in the picture, I'm using kind of the Blink T hat. So this hat here, it has some LEDs. And of course, here I can play with Docker, Kubernetes. I can do load balance, or I can do server discovery. I can do lots of things here, right? I can play with Payara Micro. And then here I can use things like the LED when the server is on, the LEDs go green. When I have an error, the LEDs go amber, or if the server stops, the LEDs go red, or can do things like that. I can create applications that shows who is answered, who is not answered. So imagine if I have a load balance, or if I have the application on top of the Docker or Kubernetes. If I do a request, the second machine answers, so the second machine is going to show select, those kind of things, and I can play with this and do several things regarding more than one node, right? And then one of the nice examples here is I have a 4 Raspberry Pis, right? And then my application just receives the request, and one of the 4 Raspberry Pis are going to receive the request. So what the application do is just show a picture of which of the Raspberry Pis are receiving the request. So in that sense, I did the first request, so I see the picture on the left, the Raspberry Pi 1 answer. If I press F5, the second Raspberry Pi answer, and so on and so on, could be random, round robin, or whatever, right? Here doesn't matter. So it's just showing kind of a nice ways or funny ways or things that you can play around and can do it. So you can play with. And then one of the nice ways or the easy ways to do it with that is the Payara Micro. Payara Micro is just a jar. Download to the jar. By default, Payara Micro, every things that you start on Payara Micro in the same network is going to be discovered by itself, right? So I can start even in my laptop. I can have 2 laptops. I can have my laptop and Raspberry Pi. I can have loads of Raspberry Pi. I start there, and if I start on the second machine, they are going to find each other, and they are going to be in a cluster. So then you can play around. The showcase from Prime Face already shows the IP address of which machine is doing the request. So you can play around. You can just connect the energy of a Raspberry Pi and see what's happened. You can turn off your laptop. You can do things like that. And if you can, the Raspberry Pi Zero, that is the cheapest one, it's up to $5, right? Let's say you can have, I don't know, hundreds, or I don't know, more than 10 of them, right? So then you have 10 Raspberry Pis, you can run the micro everywhere, turn on, turn off, play around, do crazy things, play and show. The idea that is quite cheap, it's quite easy. The SEO is run on the top of SD card, right? So you can copy the SD card, do a clone and copy. If you broke it, if something doesn't happen, you can just delete and overwrite. So you can play in a easy way. It's a nice sandbox if you like it. You can do really crazy things in a really nice way. And it's perfect because it's easy. So I can show this for people that are starting the area, let's say the beginning the developer cycle or in the developer way. I can show this for teenagers and kids, like people who are starting with electronics and basic of programming. They can learn in a easy way. They can play in a easy way. And again, if I give the joy and insight for them, kind of a interest idea for them to play, and they are excited, they can try, they can do animations. And again, every time that you show something with hardware, Lego and Java, all geeks getting enthusiastic. So it's a really, really, really nice combination. And then, as I said at the beginning, right, I'm kind of a Kafka guy. I play with Kafka. I have a background on big data for the last 10 years or so. Yes, you can start Kafka. You can run and install Kafka on the Raspberry Pi. You can install the broker on the Raspberry Pi. And of course, you can use the Raspberry Pi to consume and produce data. One of the ways and the easy way to use Kafka is microprofile, right? So on the for those who doesn't know what is Kafka and how Kafka works, it's based on data stream, right? And a data stream, it's kind of you can call array, a pipe, a sequence of elements, you name it, right? Doesn't matter. Kind of a sequence of elements that you can append or you can add on the end of the list. And every new record you add, and then you have a way to, in a sequential way, you read one by one. Of course, you can parallelize. Kafka controls the index of the last element that you read, so you don't need to start from begin again, and so on and so on. You have the concept of a producer, and you have the concept of consumer. The producer is the guy who sends elements and adds elements on this list. And then the consumer is someone that is reading, right? Nowadays, the register or the element is staying in the Kafka forever. I think by default, Kafka maintains up to 7 days, but nowadays you can change for stay forever. So in that sense, you can keep your Raspberry Pi as a Kafka server. Your data is there until you turn off or stuff like that. And then because I play on the harder world, right? I bring the Raspberry Pi for the Jakarta EE or for the enterprise world. A nice way to understand what is the data stream is a LED stripe. So this is the idea that I was playing, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I was using a LED stripe to teach people who start in the area basics of data structure, right? Or basics of data streams, right? So in that sense, you can use the LED stripe and you turn on the LEDs when a new register is there. If I have 2 different producers, you can use different colors and those kind of things. Kind of a easy way. I have a background noise. Someone's talking maybe.
Couple people are confused.
And then that's really easy and nice, right? And then one of the ideas that you can do, it's the, hey, can you hear?
There it is. He's back up.
Hey, are you guys here? I have a background noise that someone is talking, maybe. Is everything okay? All right. So you can use so one of the things that you can do, right, is you can use a micro profile. So the idea here is you have the tag, the annotation incoming and outgoing. You can use for read the data, consume, and send the data. Here is kind of a simple example. Doesn't really matter too much, but you can consume the data in a nice way, and you can produce the data in a nice way. So you can produce and consume. And as I said, right, because you have several Raspberry Pis, you can have different producers, different brokers, and different consumers. In that sense, you can have 3 different Raspberry Pis, and you have 3 producers. Your cluster itself could be several nodes, so you can have 3 Raspberry Pis as a cluster. And you can have different consumers. You can have, in that sense, several consumers. Of course, the Apache Kafka needs a little bit of more memory. So you cannot use in the old version of the Raspberry Pi. In that sense, I advise to be at least on the 4 8 gigs or try the 8 gigs. So you can play in a sense. Unfortunately, we don't have a Raspberry Pi with 16 gig yet, but fingers crossed it's going to come some soon. And yes, you can run Kafka. You have some limitations. You cannot go crazy in the number of messages. You cannot go crazy in the throughput. But yes, for a kind of playground, a sandbox environment, it's perfect. You can play. You can go around and do things like that. And one of the demos now, one of the ideas, right? This is kind of a toy. It's from Anki Overdrive. Unfortunately, this was discontinued, I guess, 2020, 3 years ago, maybe, or something like that. So for those who has this toy, right, you can find it, still can find it online. You can play with, it's kind of it's a Bluetooth, right? You connect with your mobile or a tablet, and you control the car. You use the accelerometer for turn. And if you go fast, the car goes outside of the circuit, and then you need to go back and things like that. Because it's Bluetooth, I can put a sniffer, combine this with the Raspberry Pi, and I can collect the data. And of course, I can get the data, and why not put on Kafka? So here is kind of example that I just printing the data from the game. But I can get everything, right? I get the velocity of the car, position, which lane, if he's on the right, he's on the left, those kind of things. And I can use this for do some kind of data analysis in that sense. I create a kind of example that analyze the circuits and knows when is the best way to accelerate, when is the best way to decrease the velocity. In that sense, my car has the best lap on the circuit, and I used to bring this demo for events, and I challenge people to play against me or play against my algorithm that I already know the best time, best lap. And then another thing that you can have on the Anki car is you can buy extra things, right? And one of the things that you can buy is an X. So in that sense, the cars are going to cross each other. And if you don't stop, they are going to hit each other. But because you can get the data, do some kind of analytics, You can say for the car stop. So in that sense, they are going to stop and no one's crashing each other. So you know when there is another car in there. So it's kind of a simple demo, but in the sense that you can play around with the data and you have the full scenario, right? You can play with traffic, you can play with cars, you know where the other cars are, you can play kind of try to do real-time analysis, real-time traffic, real-time things. Again, really, really simple. It's really, really nice. And believe me, when you bring this and show the hardware, show this for teenagers, kids, or people or enthusiasts, they are just love it. And then one of the other things that I really, really, really like, and it's going to be Jakarta 11, right? Is the concurrence. Jakarta 11 is going to bring something that is one of my areas of interest, that is the virtual thread, project low, virtual thread, right? Virtual thread was released on Java 18, and now on Java 21, it's kind of ready to use, right? And then Jakarta 11 concurrence is going to force, or it's going to propose all the applications or the servers implement the virtual thread. So that means Glassfish, all the servers, right, Tomcat EE, everyone who wants to follow the Jakarta EE specification are going to implement. And then this opens the door for more or thousands of other scenarios that we can do. First, it's going to improve the throughput of your application, so you can have more requests per second, and you can do really, really nice things. Can I create an application on a Raspberry Pi able to handle, I don't know, 10,000 of requests per second? I think it's plausible, right? I can. Hundreds of thousands of seconds or stuff like that, right? Can I have as I said, we can put a Kafka on the top, cannot go in a crazy way in throughput. But if I don't use Kafka, right, I have my web application able to handle more throughput, so I can do really, really, really nice things. Of course, I can combine with MQTT, do another things. But yes, this opens the door for another thing. And again, can I use this for control the hardware? It's more than one hardware, instructions in the same hardware at the same time, and things like that. So this is going to improve a lot. It's a really, really, really nice things to see. And you can play on the top on the Raspberry Pi. So as I said, Raspberry Pi is a really, really, really nice sandbox environment from $5 to $75-ish. You can have Java, different flavors of Java. You can play with different JVMs. You can try to discover which is the best JVM for your application, things like that. You can bring the Jakarta on the top. You can have the servers, right? Windfly, Glassdoor, Tomcat EE, you name it, right? You can install things like that. You can play with the GUI, Java JSF, right? Jakarta Faces. You can combine those, use the Pi4J to control the GPIO, so you can turn on, turn off, use LEDs. Use a little bit of creativity, brings the Lego or the magnified glass, do some kind of projections, create kind of a GUI that controls the projection, and bring this for people. They are going to have a nice time, they are going to play, and things like that. So, as I said, Raspberry Pi, Java, and Kafka is a really, really nice combination. You can definitely check it out. You can definitely need us to think about, have a look, play, and do crazy things. The idea of this presentation was not to go like deep dive in all the specifications and all the things, but just show kind of ideas, right? Or ways that you can use the Raspberry Pi to play around. And the idea that I show something easy, I really like it because I can use this to show people that are just starting in the developer journey, or people that are just starting on the hardware journey, or people that are just starting, or for teenagers, or for kids, or for who else out there that is interested in learning those kind of things. It's really, really, really simple and nice way to start. Again, as I said, I showed that you can install Glassdoor, Windfly, and all the others. But of course, you can do the same thing with Spring, Micronaut, Docker, Quarkus. You can play with Docker, you can play with Kubernetes, you can have Kafka and Docker, those kind of things. You can do server discovery, you can do clusters, right? Payara Micro, you can do really nice things. It's really nice way to understand what happens once you have two Raspberry Pis, for example. You install Payara Micro in both, and you turn off one and just remove the energy cable, right? Start the server, you have both answers, you can refresh the browser several times. Actually, the showcase of the primary face already opens a page that shows the IP of the machine that is receiving the request, and you can see. Another thing that I didn't cover here, but you can play with is JavaFX, right? You can definitely play with JavaFX or Java Swing on the Raspberry Pi. And again, you can use those for control the GPIO as well, and control the hardware combined with Py4j. If you're not aware, if you don't know about, I really suggest you to go and check out about Py4j. As I said, it's an open source project. You can go and do some contributions there. You can have fun, play around. Py4j, we have a version, there is a version Py4j for Kotlin. So in that sense, you can play a little bit with Kotlin on the Raspberry Pi world. Again, you can combine with the servers in the same way. There is a nice book that you can find around that is Getting Started with Java on Raspberry Pi. This book was maybe 2 or 3 years old, but there is a new version recently, up-to-date version, right? And then, as you can see, it covers Spring, Py4j, FX, OpenJDK, right? You can, as I said, you can play with different flavors of the Java or the JDK. You can use as Raspberry Pi as a sandbox and try to discover which one is the best for you. What is the best JDK for run Glassdoor? What is the best JDK for run, I don't know, Spring? Or what is the best JDK for play with hardware? What is the best JDK for play with Kafka? And those kind of things, right? Really nice and simple way you can do things like that. And then try and learn new technologies, play with JFS. You can create your XML file. Then you can do the same in the other, using the code that generates the file. So you don't need the file. You can do things like that. You can play and try to find out and figure out all the ways, whatever you. And of course, you can go ahead, try to find the Lego magnifying glass and do so your animation. I kind of, in my example, mimic a face, right? But you can do any kind of animations. You can try to write something, do a screen show or whatever. And if you don't have the magnifying glass, you just have the Raspberry Pi itself with the LED metrics, right? You can do things. See the animation there anyway. Or you can mismatch the animation with the page and you can combine and see as I show on the examples. And one thing that I found on the internet, it's not my study, it's not mine. I put the link here on the bottom. I'm going to share the slides later on so you can go and check yourself. But one of the nice things here is that based on the research, right, there is several different variations of this research on the internet. But what's showing here is that Java use less energy compared with the some other language, right? I suppose you say Python maybe is the popular one when you, or C when you think about hardware, right? Rust maybe, and Java has kind of a good energy consumption. So in that sense, you can use Java on the Raspberry Pi and you can save energy in that sense, and you can say that you save the world or save the planet as well because you're kind of using less energy. On the Raspberry Pi 5, it came with a turn on, turn off button, and this is going to open the possibility to sleep the machine. There is no support yet. This is something that is going to happen maybe in 6 months' time, but you're going to be able to put a machine in kind of a waiting status or sleep status. Then you're going to be able to sleep your application and then those things like that. So Java will be a really nice fit because if you think in a machine that is battery, less consumption energy, is the best you can. And then this is what I want to bring here, right? So just a kind of a simple way, not something fancy, not something really complex, or not deep dive on the explication. Just something simple that you can use it. Really, really nice to show people who are starting the area, and you can play, you can have fun. Kind of a simple example, or a kind of a nice idea, right? You can bring the joy, show them enthusiasm. People are kind of keen to play, or happy to play, or they want to see things like that. And I hope you guys like it. At IGFSOs, you can find me also social network. Majority of the examples that I show here, you can find on my GitHub or in my blog, examples, details. If not, just ping me, can help you. And David was saying on the previous presentation, right? Can I run Glassfish on the, nowadays we can run Glassfish in kind of small devices, a laptop. Yes, you can run on Raspberry Pi, not only Glassfish, no, but several different servers, similar servers. And yes, you can combine with hardware, you can combine with Kafka, you can do really crazy things. So thank you. If you have questions, I can see the chat now. So one of the questions is, do you have a programming course for kids? So one of the famous one is Coder Dojo, right? Coderdojo.org. So if you go on Coder Dojo, if you just Google, right? It starts on for Irish guy in Ireland. It's moved around. There is around the world, I suppose to say. There is a similar program in the US. I think it's called something. If you Google, you're going to find it in an easy way. And then there you have a free license, free lessons. You have a basic of HTML. They start with Scratch. That is a program that you just drag and drop some components on the screen. They do HTML, they do PHP, they do Python. Unfortunately, they don't have Java yet. But who knows? That's an opportunity for us to try to push them, to create content, to bring Java for them. Oracle I used to work on Oracle a few years ago, and they have an initiative to doing some kind of exercise for kids. I don't know what's the status, if it's still public or not. But yes, there is a space for that. And as I said, I usually to show a let's try can try to teach basic of data structure, right? You can create really other ideas and try to show and things like that. I will stop to share, and I'm going to look on the chat. So we don't have any other questions, so I think that's it.